Hi, I'm Allison from Thronatisca Heritage Center, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about craters. We have a little activity to go along with it too, so if you have this stuff at home, pause the video, go grab it, and then you can play along with me and see for yourself exactly what I'm talking about. Now, what is a crater? If you look at the moon at night and you see those dark spots on its surface, those are craters. Craters are big holes or depressions. They're impact sites where something floating around in outer space has smashed into the surface of the planet. It's collapsed part of the surface and basically just blown this massive hole into the surface of the planet or the moon. Now, the different parts of a crater matter to astronomers. With your crater, you have the rim. That's the edge. Basically, the size of the hole helps astronomers determine how big the thing was that made the impact and how fast it was going. So the size and the shape of the rim matter. You have the floor of the crater, which is, it's the ground, it's the bottom. Sometimes in your craters, there will be bumped up places, and those are the central peaks. Whoops, I can't spell today. That's what happens when you close for a few days. You forget how to spell. They have these central peaks, and that happens sometimes when something makes an impact and material almost kind of bounces back up a little bit. It's kind of hard to describe, but sometimes there can be hills inside the middle of the crater, and those are called the central peaks. You also have the walls of the crater. So that's all of this part, the inside edge there. So you can sometimes see different layers of ground in the walls of the crater. So that's really important. Just like geology here on Earth, what you can see on the exposed wall of a big hole in the ground matters. That gives astronomers a lot of data about what the planet or moon is made out of, is what you can see in those layers. Now, when you have a crater happen, when you have that first impact, when it smashes into it and stuff goes blowing out to the edges of the crater, that stuff is called the ejecta. It's the stuff that goes flying off to the side. So you'll have little rocks, bits of ice, basically whatever the rest of this was made out of just gets smashed up into little bits and blown out in just this big mess. And then you also have smaller or finer smears of dust, and those are called rays. And they just kind of, they're like splatter marks of dust and ice. And that can also give astronomers a clue as to which direction something hit something. It's by which way the rays are sprayed out from the edge of the crater. So if you want to grab this stuff that you may have at home, I have here some marbles. Here's just regular old marbles. If you want to make this an edible activity, you can use hunks of chocolate instead. But for today, I'm going to be using marbles. So I have those. I'm going to hang on to them so they don't roll off my table for right now. I have some very lumpy flour, and I'm going to just spread that out as evenly as I can. onto a plate. If you're doing this at home, I would not recommend using a glass container, just because throwing hard things at glass is not a good idea. So use a metal or wooden or other not easily breakable tray to do this if you're doing it at home. Just going to try and smooth that out a little bit. So there we have our moon surface, but then to help us see the layers that might be on the surface of our planet and moon a little bit better, I'm also going to be using some cocoa. So I'm going to just dust a little bit over this. Woo! You will make a mess doing this. Just be prepared, because it's gonna get everywhere. So you just kind of dust it over the top. So it's like we have our layers of land there, kind of mixed up. That lid does not go there. This lid goes there. There we go. It's been a long week, y'all. So what you do to demonstrate your crater is you use your imagination. You have your model of your planet or moon's surface there, and you have your little projectile, and you, very carefully, not trying to break anything, whoa, there goes my projectile. But basically what we have there, and you can't really see it probably from your perspective there, but poof, you see the rays of the flower that have sort of gone out. Those are just like the rays of a crater. You see these the little clumps of white flour that have been exposed from the lower layer, and then wouldn't you know, there are raised up spots in the middle of it, just like the central peaks in the in our crater diagram here. So whoop, that one bounced. So you can just do that and play and see what sort of crater shapes you can make there in your little demonstration. And again, if you want to make this an edible activity, just go ahead, pick out your favorite cake or brownie recipe. Just layer out the dry ingredients first, use pieces of chocolate instead of marbles, and then when you're all done, you can just scoop it all into your pan and bake it and eat it. So even better, chocolate and science. That's great. So this is just a quick demonstration of how craters are formed, and there are craters on Earth. You know, I've gotten questions before about, you know, the moon has all these craters all over it. Why doesn't Earth have craters? The Earth does have craters, but the Earth also has lots of weather. We have an atmosphere that generates rain, that rains down on the surface of the planet and erodes and smooths the surface back out. We have plants everywhere that grow over on top of things and cover things up and crunch up the soil and sort of move things around over time. So there are craters on the surface of the Earth. It's just there's a lot more stuff going on the surface of Earth than there is on the moon or on Mercury. If you want to look at pictures of some of those craters, one of them is the Barringer crater. Sorry, I was checking my notes there. The Barringer crater in Arizona. There's also the, I don't know if I can say this, the Vredevoort crater in Johannesburg, South Africa. And there's another one in Mexico that I definitely cannot pronounce. But if you just go to NASA's website and look for craters on the Earth, I promise you, you will find pictures there. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section of this video. Thank you so much for your time.